Well, hello everyone. Welcome to At Lafayette Live here on Monday, February 23rd, 2026. Thanks for joining me here for another Monday evening in chilly Indiana. We had a false spring. It was early for false spring, and we are back into the depths of winter. I believe the high today was 29, which for winter in Indiana is not really that terrible. It's not 0 degrees by any means, but welcome. So glad that you're here with us on a Monday. It means so much that you joined us. I'm Jeff Gooch with the Russell Company, powered by At Properties. And every Monday here on the channel on the Lafayette Reel, I host At Lafayette Live, where I talk about all things Greater Lafayette and fun things to do. We take fun home tours. We talk a lot about development news, and there's been a lot of development news over the last few years, really, to talk about, and it just kind of never stops. Field trips, fun things to do out in the region and in the area and the state. Another thing that you guys want to talk about and hear every Monday. But as I said, I'm Jeff Gooch with the Russell Company, powered by At Properties. And if you're interested in home here in the Greater Lafayette area, I'd love to be your local Lafayette real estate resource of choice. All of my contact information is right here below me. Go check me out. Send me a message, and you actually hear from me, not some assistant. I don't farm that part of it out. I'd love to help you out here in the Greater Lafayette area. Got a lot to talk about tonight, as we always do. The faucet. There is no off position on the faucet here in the Greater Lafayette area, and by the Greater Lafayette area, I mean Tippecanoe County, and of course, Lafayette and West Lafayette, Dayton and Battleground, and of course the counties around Tippecanoe County. White County and Benton County and all the counties around us. So thank you so very, very much for joining us. And as we always do at the top of the show, I would love if you would drop in the chat where you're watching from. It's always interesting to see where folks are watching from. I personally know a number of you watching from all around the country, but of course there's going to be some people watching here from the Greater Lafayette area, indeed here in Lafayette and West Lafayette or unincorporated Tippecanoe County. But I know I've got a couple of regular viewers who are in warmer climates, shall we say. Southern California, I know I hear from quite regularly. Texas, Florida. Maybe I'm just hitting the highlights of the places that I wish that I was when it's cold outside. But we do have watchers from those areas, so it's always fun to see where people are watching from. So continue dropping those in the chat if you're watching us here live on Monday evening. And we will get started on all of the things that we're going to talk about going on here in the Greater Lafayette area. And I'm going to lead with get this right. Visit Lafayette, West Lafayette has released a new study by the Indiana Destination Development Corporation looking at tourism here in the area and trying to put some facts and figures behind what the industry actually looks like here in the area. And you can go check out the report for yourself, of course, and I will link it there down below. But definitely some interesting numbers out of there, and I want to talk about just a few of them. But the highlights are that tourism does indeed account for, I was going to say visitors too. There's just some jobs here in the area. The report pegs it at about 8,200 jobs, just a little north of that, directly, and about 8,200 jobs total, with about 6,700 of those directly, accounting for about $214 million in wages. And if you drive up and down through 65 and on to 26 through Lafayette and see all of the hotels, that's really, really easy to believe. And that our tax revenue from tourism, which of course, includes travel figures, paying some, hospitality taxes and room night taxes, is that about $43.3 million here in Tippecanoe County, and almost $70 million from state and local taxes. But those are just some of the numbers, and I don't want to talk about absolutely every one of them. I guess I could show you the screen here, actually. Let me bring in the one that I really, well, let's look at the highlights. Give this a try. That's the right button. About $630 million total in tourism spending, and you can see the breakdowns, about $85 million in lodging, $200 million in food and beverage. Shopping brings in about $180, transportation about $81, and entertainment about $67 million. So that's indeed interesting, and good to see that people are coming to Tippecanoe County and visiting our area and spending money and helping our local economy. But the number that I really wanted to talk about here tonight that I took out of this study, and again, you can go check all of this for yourself, and these are 2024 numbers. Of course, 2025 just wrapped up. We're 54 days into the year, so it is not soon. It is too soon after 2025 wrapped up to get a study done on 2025 numbers. So these numbers are just a little bit older, but I wanted to look at growth. And there's a reason that I want to look at this, but check this out. So again, $631 million spent by visitors, but that was a growth of less than 1%. Actually, almost half of 1%, 0.6%. And we are well under the average for the state, way under the average for the Indianapolis Metropolitan Statistical Area is what MSA stands for, and 4.3% across all counties. Wonder how that differs from all of Indiana. Need to look into that. But you can see by the map here, the grays are the ones that are greater than $500 million. So we are up there in total spending, but our growth is pretty small. We are just growing at 0.6%. Now, our tourism spend was number 11 out of 92 counties, but our growth was only 71 out of 92. Now, why am I talking about this tonight? Well, it is directly related to development here in our area. And if you've been following along at all for the last couple of months, I have told you about what is a almost storm of new housing development that is coming to the area. Now, compared to some markets in the United States, it's actually a relatively small amount of new houses, but we've had a dearth of them over the last few years, maybe even decade and a half, that we've just not kept up with our housing, with the population, with the housing needs of our population here in the county. So there are a number of developers who have announced new developments, 700, 1,100 homes, 100, 200 homes. We have some builders who are regional here in the area, but we have some indie area developers, and we have some national developers, which is kind of a new thing, at least recently, to the Lafayette area. And as all of this housing comes to the area, we're going to be backfilling some of the demand that has been here to begin with. There's not been enough housing built. People are renting when they would rather buy. People are perhaps choosing to live elsewhere and reverse commute into Lafayette in some cases. So we're helping with that. And at some point, hopefully, we catch up to that, and then we start becoming an attractive place from a housing standpoint for people who want to come and live. But the problem is that we need amenities. And amenities can mean so very many things, but as it relates to this report, we only grew our spending on tourism by 0.6%. And I would posit, and we would need to do a little deeper dive into the data to see where the tourism dollars are being spent, but I'm going to go with, we have a good base of things that are here, have always maybe not always been here, but have been here for a long time, people coming. I'm talking, of course, about Purdue University, Purdue Boilermaker basketball, and football. The Boilermaker fans are diehards. They mostly come whether they're doing badly or well. Maybe not quite to the level when they're doing badly, but basketball versus football, you get what I'm talking about. They're coming for that. And they are coming for the big things like Feast of the Hunter's Moon, but that's one weekend. what a lot of the developing counties in the ring area around Indianapolis are developing are amenities. They're developing these large sports centers, these large rec centers. They're developing entertainment centers with theaters, and I'm talking like live event theaters. They are getting, corporations to bring in new movie theaters. Our amenities development has kind of been stagnant, and I think that we as a community, and by community I mean the people that live here, me and you and all of you watching here in the Greater Lafayette area, maybe not my Southern California friends, need to speak to our elected officials who we elect and talk about, developing those amenities. And some of those amenities are indeed going to be driven by public spending. Perhaps a performing arts center requires the county to get behind that. Perhaps bringing a large sports rec center requires some incentives for a private developer to come here, but government is still going to need to be involved. And as our population continues to grow and people now have a choice, do I want to move to the Greater Lafayette area, or do I want to move to somewhere that's developing in Indianapolis? And I'm talking about Brownsburg and Whitestown and Avon and those kinds of places. Those kinds of places are developing amenities like we are not. And I'm using these tourism numbers to kind of demonstrate that fact. We have a good bit of spending on tourism. We are in the top counties of the state. The spend per capita, 11 out of 92. As I look at the map, and I'll pop it back up here, I see 5 counties. I see us, I see Marion, I see Lake, I'm drawing a blank, the county that Notre Dame is in, and I see over in the Fort Wayne area. So kind of the areas that you would expect, because of course there's going to be more spending in more metropolitan areas as opposed to rural areas. There's no surprise there, but we're not growing. We want to continue to attract people on a tourism basis. We want to attract people on a basis of we're a great community to live in. And the people that already live here, me, I want cool, fun things to do. I don't want to have to drive an hour down the road to go see a movie at a great, one of these great, immersive movie theaters with all of the features and everything. I don't want to have to go down to Carmel to the Performing Arts Center. I want a vibrant tapestry of life here in the Greater Lafayette area, and we've got some of it. I'm not saying that we don't. I'm saying that in the year 2026, we're not keeping up. So let's see what we can do about that. And if you're interested in living here in the Greater Lafayette area, or you're already there, go hit the subscribe button so you don't miss any of our content here on the Lafayette Reel and At Lafayette Live. Not quite the button I meant to press. That was not quite the setup I was going with. But alas, that's what you get sometimes. Moving on, get this out of the way. Wabash Township, which is the township kind of over on the west side of West Lafayette, if you will, and is, if you're not familiar with the township system, we, of course, have the United States of America broken down into 50 states, and then the state of Indiana is broken down into counties, and then the counties are broken down into townships. And this is the smallest level of government. They say that government is most responsive when it is closest to the people, and this is kind of what this was set up as. And there is a lot of talk going on right now, and laws possibly being passed down in the State House concerning abolishing or at least reducing the number of townships in Indiana. So this ties into that conversation, but there's my little civics lesson for you. But the Wabash Township is looking at a tax bond to a 10-year bond to expand their emergency services, a 10-year bond up to $5.5 million in order to basically build a new fire station, 11,000 square feet, 2 stories, at 2899 Klondike Road over where they already are, with work expected to start in early March, probably finish up in early 2027. So this is going to move relatively quickly. You're going to have 2 bays for fire trucks. There's going to be offices, training space, exercise space, some meeting room. They're anticipating that it's going to be about 2.25 cents per $100 of total assessed valuation. So the trustees and the township board have talked about how much that area has grown, and if you have watched the show, if you live in the Greater Lafayette area, there's a good chance that you might live over on the west side of West Lafayette, and I mean to the west of West Lafayette, out in unincorporated Tippecanoe County that is not actually in West Lafayette. And the population has grown. In 2011, it was 17,613, so the size of a small town, to 20,735 in 2020. That's a 17% increase, and they're expecting it to grow to as much as 32,000 in just a few more years in the early 2030s. So population is just absolutely booming over on that side of town, and if you don't like your house to burn down, having emergency services that are ready to go and close by to your house are important. So look for that to be coming to a vote for you guys. And get a new fire station over in Wabash Township. Let me know what you think about that. And if you're interested in living in Wabash Township or anywhere in the Greater Lafayette area, go to thelafayettereal.com/YouTube, fill out the form, and you'll hear from me, and we can talk about buying and selling a home here in the Greater Lafayette area. I can't decide if the next story I want to talk about is ridiculous, if it's truly important, if it's somewhere in between, but here we go. The Indiana State Senate is looking at a bill to put $1 billion of public funding forward for the Chicago Bears to move to a new stadium on the lake in Hammond. Now, this was a plan that was released last Thursday that includes new hotel taxes and restaurant taxes in Northwest Indiana to help finance these bonds. It's not a final deal. It's got to pass the House. It's got to pass this the General Assembly. Here's where I have to see if I don't go off the rails or not. I try to kind of hold my politics to a fairly neutral position when I'm talking about development here in the Greater Lafayette area. And indeed, the stadium is not in the Greater Lafayette area by any means, but is in Indiana. And I know I just talked about tourism development, but a possible $1 billion in tax funds going towards this project, I'm not sure that I feel good about that. And the reason that I say that is I don't think, for a number of reasons. One, I don't think the Bears are actually interested in coming to Indiana. I mean, I can't say that for sure. I can't call them up. I don't have any billionaire friends. Don't have any NFL team owner friends. I don't know the Ursays. I feel like Indiana's being played just as a pawn to get, to try to get more out of Illinois and Chicago and indeed Arlington Heights in their negotiations for stadiums in Illinois. And there's a line to be drawn, I think, between, public funding and private interest. And where that line is drawn, that you can't draw a firm line in the sand on that. But $1 billion, a stadium in Hammond, Indiana, I don't know. It just doesn't feel like it adds up. What do you think? I mean, are you for a stadium coming to Hammond, Indiana to have the Chicago Bears play on the Indiana side of the line? I mean, a lot of the New York teams play in New Jersey. I don't think that there's a, inherent problem with that. I'm not a sports ball guy, so couldn't tell you, um, you know, that. But I guess I'm kind of rambling a little bit. Just to say that there had been some chatter about this a few months ago, late last year, but now it's actually at the state house with senators and assemblymen talking about actually voting on this as law to help attract the Chicago Bears to come across state lines. I don't know. I'm going to leave it at that. If you disagree with me, please disagree with me. Leave a note in the chat. I would love to hear more. But if you want to stay up to date on that, if something happens or doesn't happen, hit the like and subscribe buttons so you don't miss a minute of everything that we talk about here every Monday on At Lafayette Live and throughout the week on the Lafayette Reel. Okay, today we are going to take a tour of 3 homes here in the Greater Lafayette area, and tonight we are taking a tour of infill homes. What the heck is an infill home? Well, an infill home is a home that is built in a neighborhood, in an area that is completely built out already, and a lot sat empty forever and ever. Perhaps, there was a fire and somebody tore a house down and it never got built back up. In the case tonight, at least one that we're looking at is old railroad right-of-way that was not abandoned, but was the railroad tracks as they were realigned through Lafayette a couple of decades ago, making traffic much better through the city, are now getting these new homes. So that's kind of what ties them together. They're all infill homes. They're all beautiful. They're all new builds, of course. And they're all kind of in the same price range, and we'll talk about that price range. And in some ways, they're starter homes, and in some ways, they're not. They're not giant. They're not tiny. They're not cheap, but they're not expensive. But like I said, we're going to start with 603 South 3rd in Lafayette, and this one is a 3-bedroom, 3-bath, and we're going to put it on the map to start with so you can see where we are talking about. So here is it's kind of right here between 3rd Street and Old US 231, just south of Kossuth. And it is indeed, one of these old infill lots here, and there are a few of them in a row here. This is an area of older homes. I mean, a lot of the homes have been here a very, very long time. I mean, if you take a look, you can see right here, Highland Park is right here. The Ellsworth roaming neighborhood. I mean, this is old Lafayette. This is original Lafayette, but you can have a new home in old original Lafayette. But let's take a tour of 603 South 3rd Street in Lafayette. 3 bedrooms, 3 bath, 1,760 square feet. So beautiful 2-story elevation there. Got the metal roof on a new build. Nice covered porch. Got the lovely wood floors, open concept on the main floor here, but the wood detail evoking, the original architecture that would have been in this neighborhood, enough to recall it, but not being so over the top as to drive the price of the house through. Sorry, my cat is meowing at me. Not enough to drive the price through the roof. This is completely walkable to downtown and the farmers market and all of that. But you have the great room with the gas fireplace and the eat-in kitchen adjacent to it. Got the solid surface countertops in the kitchen. I love the green color palette here. They're rather proud of the kitchen. Going to show you all the views of the kitchen. We'll move along here. Nice detail on the cabinetware. Then we start moving into the other rooms. We got bathroom, another reverse shot of the living room, the great room, if you will. Great for entertaining. Everybody can be together, heading up the stairs. We can move into our bedrooms. And so, sometimes some of these homes that we tour are just absolutely stunning when we're looking at $1 million homes, and we're not looking at $1 million homes. We're looking at a regular home. This is an infill here in Lafayette. It's got the modern bath with the rainfall shower, the barn doors on the from the primary bedroom to bathroom. Secondary bath upstairs with the full-size tub. And we go down to the basement. I guess you'd call it partially finished. You can turn this, I'm sorry, it's not the basement. This is the walkout garage, actually, not basement. The garage around the back side. So the garage is the basement from the front, but not from the back, obviously. So that is 603 South 3rd Street in Lafayette. That is 1,760 square feet, 3 bedrooms, 3 baths. Currently listed for $345,000. And if you're interested in living in something close to downtown Lafayette that is brand new, that's pretty rare. The only way that you're going to get that is to do a tear down. So that's going to require buying a house, tearing it down, pulling the permits and tearing it down, pulling the permits and buying something new. All of this is ready to go for you at $345,000. And again, not starter home priced, but not super expensive either. Kind of somewhere in between. And next, we're going to look at its neighbor. We're going to look at 609 South 3rd Street next, and you're going to see kind of a lot of similarities in the styles, of course, slightly different layout, but I want to take the time and go through them. So 609 South 3rd Street, another 3-bedroom, 3-bath, 1,725 square feet. But let's look at this one on the map. And if you were watching for the first one, you're going to see that this was right down the road. I mean, by right down the road, I mean it was right down the road, two houses away, I believe. So you can see we're right here at Kossuth. This is 3rd Street. This is just, call it 1, 2, 3, 4, about 5 or so blocks from South Street. This is very walkable to downtown. It's not that terribly far. I'm kind of curious. Let's pop this into Google Maps and see what it says for walking. Google Maps. And pop the address in. Let's get some directions to, let's go to the Long Center. 3 minutes, 0.8 miles driving. Yeah, I want to walk. 17 minutes, 0.7 miles to the Long Center. So, here, you want to look at this map? Here is 3rd Street, and you can see the walking path here. Just a few blocks on down, and really kind of once you hit this area, I mean the farmers market. It's a 10-minute walk to the farmers market. in an area of Lafayette that is original to Lafayette. There's some absolutely beautiful architecture in this area. There are some older homes. There are some older homes that have been well taken care of, and it's the opportunity to live in the middle of Lafayette in a brand new home. And I really just kind of can't overemphasize what a unique opportunity that is. So 609 South 3rd Street in Lafayette. 3 bedrooms, 3 baths, 1,725 square feet. And we have the 2-story elevation out front. And we can see that it is garage in the basement, and it is a walkout in that the basement, the garage is back loading. So from the front elevation, you go in on the main floor. And here is the back elevation where you indeed can see that garage. So I would call that a walkout, is how I would describe that. Large, open, great room concept in here with the lighter wood floors and the wood beams. You got the gas fireplace offset with the darker brick and the darker paintwork on the kitchen island. Please, please, please don't put your TV above that fireplace. TV too high. You got the laminated beams there. I really like that take on it. They've literally taken some 2x12 beams and laminated them together to form that beam. I think it's a great architectural accent there. You have the modern farmhouse color palette in the kitchen with the white and the black and the gray. Great for entertaining, big open space for all of your friends and family to come over and hang out and have dinner and game night together. Large, open, airy space. We got the half bath for visitors downstairs. And we head up the stairs and we get up into the primary. You got the sliding barn door into the primary bathroom that has the dual bay sink and vanity. Got the rain head shower. I'm not even sure that head is the right word for that kind of fixture. And we start moving into the secondary bedrooms, full-size tub in that bathroom. And then we move down into the garage / basement, call it what you will, with your mechanicals and the dual bay garage, 2-car garage. Looking for fancy words here. So that is 609 South 3rd Street in Lafayette. It is 3 bedrooms, 3 baths, 1,725 square feet. And as I said, it is built on infill. So this is property that used to be railroad property in Lafayette. And as the railroads were rerouted a couple of decades ago to make traffic flow so much better in Lafayette, a lot of this property sat open, and now it is being developed. And so now you can own a brand new construction home in Lafayette in an established neighborhood for $345,000. And if you're interested in that home or any of the homes we've toured or any of the home here in the Greater Lafayette area, go to the LafayetteReal.com/YouTube, fill out that form, and let's work together on your housing needs here in the Greater Lafayette area. Because if you haven't been paying attention, I'm Jeff Gooch with the Russell Company, powered by At Properties, and I'd love to be your local Lafayette real estate resource of choice. For our third home tour of infill homes here in the Greater Lafayette area, we're going to look at 124 South 7th Street. I'm going to move a few blocks down the road from 3rd Street and move down to 7th Street. 4 bedrooms, 3 baths, 2,500 square feet. I rather like the front elevation on this one, the mix of the siding and the brick. And you got the brick wainscoting along the sides, and you got the brick all the way to the top in the middle. But let's check this one out on the map to give you context for where it is located. Here we go. So we're on 7th Street. It is just about a block and a half off of South Street, so very, very, very walkable to downtown. I mean, this is a 5-minute walk You can be at the farmer's market in probably 7 or 8 minutes. You can be at the Long Center. You can go grab a brew burger. You can do all of the things in downtown. It is a great central location in a neighborhood that is developed. But again, we're looking at infill homes. These are lots that have been sitting open that are prime for development in most cases. But let's go on a tour of 124 South 7th Street in Lafayette. 4 bedrooms, 3 baths, 2,508 square feet on an infill lot here in Greater Lafayette. And as we move from the inside, well, let's look back outside. I mean, I talked a little bit about it, but I do rather like the brickwork in the middle. Then you continue and it kind of ties it together with the wainscoting, so you don't drive the cost through the roof with full brick veneer all the way around. Walk into an entry area, and I rather kind of like that. So you got a little bit of separation. You don't just walk into this big cacophonous great room. You go into a little entry area, and then you step over into the great room with the living room, kitchen, dining room all in one. You got the gas fireplace with the surround that pays homage to the architecture of the early 20th century in Lafayette with those columns and that woodwork, but very much modern home. You have the light color tones that are not modern farmhouse, thank goodness. It's a little darker than that. I mean, the cabinets are white, but the tones of the cabinets, of the floors rather, and the counters are a little more brown, and I rather do like that. Got the large island that neither has the sink nor gas stove in it. I rather am a fan of islands that you can come sit and eat at while somebody is cooking, but to each their own. You can use that as a prep surface, of course. And the flip side of that entry area is indeed the landing of the stairway heading up, and we start moving into bathrooms, and this is the front den. So I do rather like homes that have more than one living area, somewhere to get away from each other. But you head up the stairs, and you start moving into the bedrooms. I like the color palettes they have chosen for this house. I know it's just paint, and you can change that, but I like the darker windows that they have selected. I think that looks really good. I like the cream and the particular shade of green. I have always been a fan of this setup of dual basin sink. It's not something you see terribly often, so I kind of have to call it out when I see it, and I do rather like it because it's nice to have the room to get ready at the same time. It's nice not to have to look at each other in the mirror or run your elbows into each other. It's nice to have that separation. It's a little thing. I know. You got the rain head shower in the shower. I'm not even sure that. Yeah. Moving on to the laundry room. I think this is a well-designed home in an infill lot. Good use of space, good color palettes. And when I say good use of space, this bathroom is a Jack and Jill bathroom, so it's connected to multiple bedrooms so that you can, both have access to the water closet from the bedroom, but still be able to shut it off. And I find that to be a great use of space. I do like carpets in bedrooms. I think carpets belong in bedrooms. I don't want my bedroom to be this big cacophonous space. And I like the architecture of the building. It's not over the top. I'm not calling it an architectural wonder by any means, but it's not bland and boring either. It's got some brickwork. It's got some siding. It's got a color palette that really kind of works together. So if you're looking for an infill lot, if you want to live in Lafayette but you want a new construction, this is for you. 4 bedrooms, 3 baths on 2 stories, 2,508 square feet. Currently listed for $610,000. So if you'd like to take a tour of 124 South 7th Street. Go to the LafayetteReal.com/YouTube and fill out the form, and you'll hear from me, not my assistant. You'll hear from me, and we can go check out this home or any home here in the Greater Lafayette area. And if you need to sell your home before you want to buy this home, I can help you with that too. And then I would also ask you, go hit the like and the subscribe button. If you're watching our videos here on At Lafayette Live and the Lafayette Real, helping out the algorithm on YouTube means a lot to us, so go hit that. And with that, we're going to call it a night. We will see you again next Monday for our next edition of At Lafayette Live. Don't forget to check out all the new content throughout the week on the Lafayette Real. Hit us in the comments below. Check us out on Facebook. Let us know what you'd like to hear more about. What sort of home tours would you like to see? What here in the community is of interest to you? What's concerning you? I'd love to hear all of that. So come join us in the conversation throughout the week. And until then, have a great week. See you next time.